you. Calypso is soca, soca is calypso. Sister Chutney and brother Raga, cousin Tassa compelling more. Say you don't have to look no further. I'm sure everybody don't know. If you're listening to sweet soca, you're bound to hear sweet calypso.
Nothing else sounds as good as
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
99.9 WEFM. WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
99.9, the heart and soul of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. WEFM is SVG.
Cop Chat. You've got questions for the police? They're here to give you the answers on WEFM 99.9.
And signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in our use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
We are now back with more talk time here on WEFM's Activated Mornings. At this time, we are in our Cop Chat segment. And joining Roleza and I in studio this morning, we have Mr. Enzi Priddle, Sergeant of...
This is when you stepped out of the room. It's Enzi.
Oh,
Z.
Enzi. I'm so sorry. Mr. Enzi Priddle.
Pretty.
Oh my. Let's take that again. So joining Roleza and I in studio this morning, we have Mr. Enzi Pretty, who's a sergeant of police in the police fire brigade, Mr. Clifford Phillips, corporal of police in the fire brigade as well, and Miss Kathy Badnock, communications director for the SVG Red Cross Society. Lady and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. Have you ever been to? Well, I know you've been here. Have you ever been here before, Kathy?
Yes, I've been here.
Okay. Oh, so it's welcome back to the studios then. Pretty, have you been here before?
No, it's my first time in the studio, but not my first time in the area because we extinguished fires in the past.
Okay, nice.
So I do appreciate the opportunity to come here and discuss on this important topic. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So at this time, I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves. Well, they've heard Pretty's voice, so they'll know which voice is associated with which name. And I'm going to go with the old saying, ladies first.
Good morning to all of our listeners. Good morning, Roleza and Dianna. Thank you for welcoming me back. I am Kathy Badnock with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross Society, wearing that hat today. Safety, disaster management, education, we are all for it. And now is the time to get ready, considering hurricane season is soon upon us.
Mm-hmm. Good morning. This is Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. Good morning to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and those in the diaspora. I am Corporal Phillips, and I am, very excited to be here, especially with my good friend, Miss Badnock. And we've been doing some work together. So
I like how you hail up your fellow teammates
yes,
first,
man,
right? Before you bring up the nation, you bring up your teammates first. All right.
All right.
And Officer Pretty again. So.
Good morning, everybody in St. Vincent the Grenadines, especially the members of the Royal St. Vincent the Grenadines Police Force. As I said before, I am happy to have this opportunity to come and discuss this important topic in the preparedness of teaching children in St. Vincent the Grenadines about fire and how to prevent, to deal with fires in the home.
All right. So I didn't tell you the topic this morning. We're speaking on the topic, prepared to protect, teaching kids emergency response skills at home. And a while ago, Ms. Badnock mentioned the hurricane season, which is going to be here soon. And honestly, if you had not mentioned that, I didn't even think about that. And you're so correct. I feel like we just left it and it's right back here again. So this morning, we're talking about all things safety, emergency response skills for children at home, or they could use it other places as well, but especially at home. So, Roleza told you earlier to gather the children around your devices. Now is the time. If they're on the device watching YouTube and it's not WEFM, probably want to gather them in right now and have them listen to this. All right. So the first question I have to ask, and though other persons may ask as well, why is it important for children to learn emergency skills? I mean, they're just children, right? Why do we need to teach them emergency skills?
Well, I would take that because, as you said, ladies first. The older folks will tell you, charity begins at home. Although we send our children to school, we let them outside ever so often, the fact remains, and especially in this technological age, our children spend more time at home, whether or not it's on their devices, but they spend more time at home than anywhere else. So if anything has to happen, it is very important that they know how to deal with an emergency at home. And that knowledge that they would have gathered at home, they can then take it to school, to church, to the park, wherever, to their grandma's house. But they have to learn it where they spend most of their time. And fortunately or unfortunately, they are going to be our first responders, because if you spend more time at home, with granny, with mommy, with your baby sisters, something happens, the fact remains that somebody has to be there to provide that first step, that first aid to the persons to increase their chances of survival. And let me throw in a little statistic here. It has been proven that in an emergency, children or persons who know first aid and have been able to provide first aid, they have been able to save persons 40% of the times. There's a 40% better outcome. And when you're talking about cardiac arrest, if that person knows first aid and receives first aid within the first couple minutes, then that survival rate goes up to 80%. I mean, can you imagine that, having a cardiac arrest and it goes from surely dead to 80%? That's amazing. So yes, we need to teach our children how to take care and handle emergencies at home.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to add a bit as Ms. Badnock said. Let me go back to the Bible. It said that suffer not the children, let the children come unto me. And also we know that they are the greatest. So, and charity begins at home. So in most time when strategy strike, when you have events where children may face they may face bad outcome because they don't know what to do. So if we equip them with that knowledge and that skill, so whenever situation do arrive, they will be able to combat whatever. They will be able to think that critical thinking, help them to develop that critical thinking, and also broaden their situation awareness, so they would know how to fight.
Okay.
Yes, I may add also that it's important to start at an early age when teaching fire. So children, they absorb information at a very young age, and it would help them also in preparing and developing their initiative, the instinct in responding to hazardous situation. So it's better that we start at an early age, from preschool to primary.
I was actually going to ask if any age is too young.
in my opinion, no age is too young. Once a child can understand, is able to understand, because you're not going to train a baby, right? So no age is too young to start teaching children. You may have to use different methods of teaching them at different age groups, from different age groups, but no age is too young.
But Sergeant let me just Sergeant Pretty, let me just jump in here. I do agree with you when you said that no age is too young, but you would have said that we don't necessarily teach babies. And I think we actually do, because as parents, we actually teach the babies from a young age that yes, you're rolling off that bed. When you drop, you're going boom. So safety, we start ingraining certain aspects of safety from a young age to children. That is how they learn how to not play with fire, that fire is hot. The tea, if you drink it, it might be too hot and it would burn you. Don't fall down, don't go down those stairs because you would fall. So we do teach them in certain forms, age appropriate, in an age appropriate manner, about safety. And as they get older, sometimes we say that children, they are the future. I actually believe that children are the now. What we teach them now is going to impact our future. And if we can start inculcating that culture of safety in them from an early age, including if you fall off the bed, it's going to hurt. Then I think our society on a whole, it's going to be a whole lot better, a whole lot safer.
Okay.
So basically we're building resilience, and also we equipping them both socially and emotionally. Well, that's good.
Okay. Do you think it's do you think that because I don't want for us to, I'm hoping for us to have a discussion, emergency on a whole, not just, let's say, fires. I know that 2 persons from Fire Brigade are representative, but of course we have someone from Red Cross as well, right? But emergencies on a whole. Do you think it is wise for parents, let's say, to disclose their medical conditions to children, right? Because oftentimes something can happen to a parent while at home. The child is clueless as to what's wrong with mommy, what's wrong with daddy, what's wrong with granny or grandpa, right? Do you think that they should actually disclose this information? What's wrong with them in the event that they have to relay information to someone else?
Yes, they should. In the event they have to relay the information to someone, maybe also medication, importance of knowing where medication is located. Information about their condition, that maybe documents or anything like that. So that they can, maybe they have to call 911. They could easily transfer, give that information to the operator, so that the medical person who is responding would have more information and would be able to prepare themselves when they arrive at the scene, how to deal with this situation.
Right. For instance, where you're talking about asthma attack. Child knows, mother when you get an asthma attack, the child will be able to go and fetch get the nebulizer, because he have a knowledge that yes, mommy have this condition. So in case that do occur, the child will be able to, okay, mommy, let me go and get the nebulizer to assist the mother. So I think it's important.
Okay.
I do agree, and I would stress here, however, in an age-appropriate manner. You don't want a 3-year-old trying to tell a first responder, my mother have asthma, and they responded, they're trying to figure out what does mommy say, what is this child saying, the mother has asthma, what is that? And that could complicate things. Explain things in an age-appropriate manner, have the children learn that. Nowhere, for example, medication is emergency information is location, and let me not say medication. Emergency information is, because we know some children hand fast, quite frankly, and we do not want to put them in harm's way. So that's very important. And I would stress here that habit we have sometimes about saying, if I tell the children something, they would go outside and carry my business at all.
Yeah.
we need to step away from that. We need to start with the age-appropriate information. But of course, at the same time, you would tell your children, some things are meant to stay inside. Some things are meant to stay in the house, or if there's an emergency, that's the only time you can tell it, right?
Espano, you see where critical thinking come in, develop critical thinking come in. Display of the nebulizer. So me as a physician, I first use one that could say, well, yes, she has a nebulizer in she hand. So she's saying asthma. So probably there's an asthma attack, right? But seeing the display of the nebulizer. So,
All right. Maybe I would also add in cases where, let's say, there isn't phone contact. Parents have the conversation that if something happens to me, you run to this particular neighbor who may have an understanding of what my condition is, that in the event of something happening to me, go to this neighbor, and then this neighbor would be able to respond quickly. Because we have to remember sometimes, especially in whenever there are disasters, that, communication may be down, right? So that's also another thing that we could also add there as well.
I would stress here that the Ministry of Education and the Red Cross, we have been stressing to persons, you need to develop your family emergency plan. It's not just if there's a hurricane or if there's a fire. What if you drop down and break something? I mean, I'd lay it out like that. If you fall and you have a fracture, what happens? If something happens to you while you're at work, what happens to the children? Do they know who to turn to? So it's important for families to sit down and come up with a plan, what to do in the event of a disaster, an emergency of any kind.
So see why I applaud the ministry and Red Cross for taking the initiative to also bring along the firefighters to educate the public and the children them on fire safety and fire prevention. So, as I said, the children are the future. Suffer not the little children.
Cathy, and just tell you, they already know.
They don't know.
I just rephrase it.
All right, so let's get straight into fire. Let's talk about
I wanted to, before we get to fire itself. What are some of the incidents that you tend to find happening with children who are at home?
I would leave this for the police.
Children are home on vacation right now, right? They are home on vacation. Parents are at work. Yeah. So there are many children who are left at home, right? So because you don't always have an adult present in the house. There, different circumstances why children will be left alone at home. So for you, what have you seen as some of the things that they might get involved with while at home?
Most of the times at home, that we would see that where fires would occur would happen at night. Most of the times. When parents leave children at home and then maybe go party, go lining, and they will leave a candle burning, and that candle will burn straight down. They would not put it in the water, be smart and put it in water with a cup, because I know growing up, that's the way you would place a candle. You put it in a cup of water and you would light it. Right, when there's a power outage. So you would find that from that you would have an incident of fire, and most of the times you would have fatality. A fatality would occur from that. During the day, I would suggest that parents ensure when they're leaving, ensure that gas bottles are turned off, switched off. Right? Encourage children to use maybe a microwave if they need to reheat food to eat for lunch, right? Ensure you remind them about the fire plan, as colleagues said that in regards to the importance of a fire plan. Remind them what they should do in the event of any emergency or hazard occurs.
Miss, you want to go ahead?
I wanted to jump in here because sometimes we think about emergencies and safety only with our physical environment. I have a daughter, a whole child.
Thank God it's not half.
And I tell her that the internet, it is like a whole new world, and her device is like a passport. You see these charging of devices, those are, sometimes we and maybe I'm stepping on fire department's toes here a little.
No problem.
But sometimes you see persons getting themselves in all kind of positions and overheating the extension cords just to get their device charged. that is one aspect of safety that can start a fire. But we also have to consider online safety. When we have our children home, you don't know who is sending them what, these chat groups, what they have access to there, what is coming into your home there. So that's another aspect of safety that sometimes gets overlooked, but it's just as important. Recently, I've heard about this fire challenge where children online on, I guess, TikTok, they throw something that's flammable, like rubbing alcohol on their hand, and then they light it a fire. That's a thing online at the moment. And we like to think that our children have sense. But you put young people in an environment without supervision, and sometimes common sense goes out the window. So we do have to mind the online safety aspect and what it's bringing into our homes as well.
Ms. Bannock, we are adults and we like to experiment as well. Right? So, look at it. Children will always be children, but at the same time, they have to practice safety. I mean, they are home now and they have a lot of times. Not like we have to come to work still. They would be playing with matches. They would be able to sit down in the tree and light them. They're going to want to go to the stove, say they want to go fry egg. Daddy want to go fry egg. And all them kind of things there. So children is always going to be children, but as I said, we have to educate them. Do not go to the electrical socket and plug in things that are not needed. Plug in and practice safety. Don't play with matches, as the sergeant said before, and leaving all those electrical devices unattended. So I urge the children today, especially who are at home presently, practice fire safety. If your parents say don't trouble that, don't trouble that. Go outside and pick up a ball or something and go play some cricket, play some football or something. But don't play with anything that would turn out into a disaster.
All right. So I suppose
if I may add to that, also children using of phones while charging. I would recommend parents to tell the children not to use phones while the phone is being charged. Although we do it most of the time. I do it sometimes.
So we need to practice what we preach.
Yes. My phone would alert me, hey, your phone is it's
overheating.
Overheating. So when they're using their phones and the phones need to charge, plug in the phone, yes, but place it on the table somewhere where that they can be kept cool, where there's breeze blowing, not on the bed, so that they won't overheat and create a hazardous situation.
Sure.
All right. So I suppose that's for some other practical things that just came to my head as we were speaking. To prevent, let's say, children from attempting to use the stove, maybe prepare food for them before leaving home, right? So that way, all they have to do is heat the food as opposed to having to go to the stove to fry the egg, right? So that's one of the things. Prepare food for them before leaving. Another thing might be to walk with the chargers. If you charge the phone before or the device before leaving home, they will know, well, you have these amounts of hours, and once it's dead, you go and you read a book, right? So I think sometimes as parents, you have to sort of take back the control in a sense where you don't just leave it to them and hope that they are going to adhere to the things that you say because you're not there. They're not necessarily going to do that, right? Even for us, sometimes as adults, we are charging devices that are with faulty cables, right? So children are not going to know that if you leave this plugged in, even adults may happen too. Had it plugged in and then it started to smoke in my hand, started to almost catch fire in my hand. And a child is not necessarily going to know that if I do this, it can potentially cause a fire, especially if I just leave it on a bed to charge, a fire can start that way. So I think it's more of us doing the practical things and taking back our responsibility, despite the fact that they have to be home by themselves.
Well, what of the Sarge? Go ahead.
Also, to touch on the point of parents maybe cooking and leaving the food, what parents can do also is teach your children how to use the stove and observe how they use it. Ensure that they're using it the correct way. They do it, doing all the correct procedures. After they finish using the stove, make sure the knobs are turned off and the gas is turned off from the gas set. So they can teach the children and observe how the children perform those actions.
And if they accidentally left on the stove, if they're smelling gas, what to do?
Yes.
Right?
Well, one of the things I normally do, I sensitize my kids at home when it comes to fire safety. I would tell them what to do and what not to do in case of a fire, where the exit is, where to get themselves out, get the brother out, or something like that. So I normally tell them, don't play with matches, don't trouble the stove. You understand? I normally teach them that.
Yeah,
so
camera in your house?
Yes, we have camera.
Oh, in the house?
Yes, we just bought a new camera yesterday.
Okay.
As well.
No, the only reason why I ask is because you know you're not there, so you're not sure what they're doing, right? So, right, okay, but sorry.
The conversation, the topic about safety, I think it cannot be divorced from the topic of empowerment. It's all about letting parents know that, yes, you can do something here. Letting children know, yes, you are able to do something here for your parents, for yourselves, for your own safety.
All right, so we have a caller. Hi, Coach, good morning.
Yeah, I listened to the conversation, but the first thing I was trying to hear you all say, the phone number, which is the emergency number.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard that number mentioned at all. So I hope before the program finishes, you all could deal on that number. That number should be taught in school, every place that the child is. And that is a very important number, whatever the emergency number in St. Vincent is. Like most kids in America, they know 911. It's like, so I think that's a number that needs to be instilled in a child in terms of emergency. So they could call that number without even thinking, So that's what I'm trying to hear that number call out.
Yeah,
right?
we have it listed as one of the questions, so yes. All right.
You can go ahead.
Let me see to Clifford. Go ahead, Clifford.
I am not sure the sergeant would have mentioned it earlier. I believe domestically, for those domestic home, I think every household should have an evacuation plan. Some planning in place, just in case of an emergency. It doesn't matter what emergency or what it is, but they should have a plan in case any tragedy or anything.
And I would use this opportunity now, since Mr. Kojo, his name is, he would have jumped the gun, but we were getting there. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross, along with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force Fire Department, we have joined forces with the Ministry of Education School Safety Unit for a program called Student Emergency Response Teams, CERT. These are basically the baby versions of the CDRTs, the Community Disaster Response Teams, or the Community Emergency Response Teams. These community teams are basically the first line of defense in a community. But what the ministry has done now with Red Cross and the Police Force Fire Department, we've started a little bit earlier. We've said, okay, those adults are there in the community, but we need to start equipping these children at home to be able to act in the event of any emergency. So the student emergency response teams, we have started, I'm wearing multiple hats today. We've started a pilot in the schools, and we intend to expand it to all of the schools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, primary and secondary, so that each child or each school is equipped with the know-how, what to do in the event of an emergency, and the areas the children are being trained in. It includes medical interventions, that's why Red Cross is there, fire safety, which is why fire department is there. They also get information on psychological first aid. What happens when someone is upset or something is happening at home and they don't want to talk to the teacher? So they're able to intervene there first. They are also given additional training in an introduction to disaster management, communication, and specifically how that relates to the school disaster plan, and helping the teachers with the preparation or gathering of the information for the school disaster plan. And of course, how the CERTs fit into the national mechanism in terms of how it comes on the NEMO and how it should function within the confines of the school. So we are working together. We are doing something. And yes, part of that, Mr. Kojo, is telling them what the emergency numbers are, and not just emergency numbers. In case you call the switchboard 999 or 911 and you can't get on, we also tell them this is A&E's number. If it's dire and the person is dying, call A&E. We give them that number also.
Okay.
And also, they are given a printout as well with the number and information in it. So the information they gather now were taken back to their parents where they could, enlighten the parents as well.
Okay, so we have a caller. Hi, Joshua. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. It's me again. I'm listening to you with interest. And what I'm seeing is that we are expecting children to perform the role of adults. I'm wondering whether or not it would be a good idea to organize neighborhood groups so that when our students are at home, we have volunteers, maybe in the community center or something like that, monitoring kids, because a child should never, ever be left alone under no circumstances at all, because it takes a split second for a child to do something. One of your panelists said, children would be children. Children are curious. And there have been so many cases in St. Vincent where children were left alone in school or at home, and they do things that children do. So maybe if something could be organized, I don't know if you follow what I'm saying here, where children could be monitored. So mommy doesn't have to go to work or daddy have to go to work, and leave the 10-year-old in charge of the 5-year-old. Because once a house is on fire, there's nothing we could do. I hope this would be, and please nobody say, oh, you could say that because you're in Bermuda. But children are very, very, very valuable, and we should do anything at any cost at all to protect our children. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks, Joshua.
I think, go ahead.
I think the caller may be referring to a neighborhood watch, something similar.
Yeah.
And what simply can happen is that not everybody in the community will be working during the day. When a parent is leaving home and leaving 2 children home, what the parent can do is just inform the neighbor and say, hey, I'm leaving for work. This is my telephone number. My 2 children are home on Easter vacation.
Yes, I think he's been referring to those more of a systematic social program. Fortunately, in the Caribbean, we have had the unofficial social programs in effect for whatever reason. Tell a neighbor, call over the fence, that sort
Keep
of
your
thing.
eye out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it works. And it's not, would have said that we're expecting children to perform the role of adults. No, children are going to grow up to be adults. We intend to teach them, yes, how to be responsible children. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, and a responsible child. But at some point, we have to educate our children and accept that that is the purpose of education, to mitigate whatever wrongs or ills that they might perform when we are not looking. And we cannot be looking 24/7. That's the reality. And we should not be looking 24/7, because how are they going to learn to grow up? How are they going to gain some experience? We have to teach them so that when experience hits, they know what to do and get out safely. That is how we all learn.
Mrs. Badnock is correct.
We can teach a child to walk, but it would be the child. It would be up to the child if the child wants to walk. But at the same time, the children of today is going to be the men of tomorrow. So we have to start them now. We have to give them that information. We are not giving them the responsibility of an adult, but we are educating them so they will know what to do if they are placed in that situation.
Just before we head out, because you want to take the ad break? Okay. So somebody on the live is saying, good job, guys. The booklet is very child friendly and also easy for teachers to understand. All right. So, but I did have another question. As you talk about the training, etc., right? The children get an actual certificate of what it is that they have covered within the training program.
Yes.
Okay, so but the reason for asking it is that we know that there are many instances where adults don't like to listen to children, right? They think that children aren't as informed. So what would you do to maybe encourage a child who's within a household? They have received this particular training, but an emergency has presented itself. But the adult in the house doesn't want to listen to them. What would you probably suggest, even before it gets to the stage of an emergency, that the child can do to let this parent or let their guardian know that I do know what I'm saying?
Old people say, when you can't serve mommy, you serve granny or something like that. When there's an emergency and nobody knows what to do, generally persons tend to listen to somebody who sounds like they knows what they are doing. But all of us as children, we were young once. I mean, we're still young, but we were younger once. And we know that if we want to get something from our parents, we just keep hammering at it.
Yes.
We keep repeatedly singing that Sankey. We keep saying XYZ is the case. So children, if it matters to them, their parents' safety, they just have to continually say XYZ, or teacher say,
correct,
or show the booklet. Yes, that same booklet or the certificate. I know this, keep on repeatedly. And parents, eventually, it wears us down. We would accept and give the children opportunities to do, because now we know that they know, or they should know.
Good.
It is very child friendly because I took to myself. But one of them would be placed at a school in the countryside.
Okay, you're forgiven.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And for the rest of persons who want to access it, where can it be accessed?
Currently at the Ministry of Education School Safety and Research Unit. You can contact the unit. I would give that number at the end.
And mind you, the program is, well, it's an exciting program because I had the opportunity to be a part of the movement, and even the teachers, they were all also engaged in the program itself. So it's a real wonderful program. Ministry and Red Cross, fire. So
it's a whole school approach.
Well,
currently we ask the school to provide 10 to 15 students in primary school, provided they are above grade 3 and not in grade 6, so that we can have continuity. And once they're in secondary school, once they're not in Form 5, we ask the school to provide the students. Some principals automatically may go to their environmental club or their Red Cross group or some other group, but we ask them, find students who are interested from all over the school, all walks, all areas of St. Vincent, get them involved. And the children have been running us down, literally.
I even taught some of these children are adults the questions that they would ask. I wonder if Miss Banner would have already given them the answer or something to some of the questions.
All right, so we are going to take a short ad break here, and then we will be right back with more of the interview. Remember, you can call us when we come back if you have questions or if you have comments.
Every girl loves curves. Curves is a girl's closest friend. When life throws you a fast curve, count on Curves for ultra confidence, ultra comfort for that time of the month. Curves ultra thin with wings, Curves regular maxi with wings, and Curves overnight maxi with wings. Super absorbent, best quality and value for money. Every girl loves Curves.
Agent Frank B. Armstrong, SVG Limited.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Falls Avenue and in Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tire, Tires, the king of the mountain. Cooper Tires, king of the road and track. Osto, the king of the outback. And High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy-duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnesvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road.
Grab a high room and come along. Gotta be a hero, stand up strong. High room beer where you belong. When the D-Max so sleep.
Hyrule lovers, Vincentians, hear this. Are you ready to step into the Heroes Club and claim your chance to win a brand new 2025 Isuzu D-Max pickup? Here's how it works. Purchase a Hyrule, check under the crown for the letters H-E-R-O. Collect all 4 letters, place them in an envelope with the name, address, contact number, and the name of our first national hero, and enter to win. Easy to the max. Heroes celebrate. Raise your Hyrule. Feel the pride. And spell your way to victory. Be a hero. Drink Hyrule.
Like a hero through SVG Street.
Hold your own. 40 years and counting.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a whole new world out there. Reaching new customers and getting products faster. That's what it's all about. Ocean freight rates are skyrocketing, so don't pay more for slower service. It's time to switch to faster, more reliable air cargo service with SkyMax Cargo. Up to 3 flights weekly to and from the USA, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean islands. Providing excellent import, export, and e-commerce solutions to put you ahead of the competition. For special low rates on small packages and air cargo, contact SkyMax today. 784-456-5400. Local agents SwiftPack Interbrand Cargo. Call 784-456-5400 to book your shipments today.
99.9, the heart and soul of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. WEFM is SVG.
Cop Chat. You've got questions for the police? They're here to give you the answers on WEFM 99.9.
The world has become such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
We are back with our Cop Chat segment here on WEFM. This morning, we are discussing the topic Prepared to Protect, teaching kids emergency response skills at home. And joining Roleza and I this morning, we have Mr. Enze Pretty, Mr. Clifford Phillips, and Miss Kathy Badnock. Now, we only have just a few minutes left of this interview, so we are going to have to use our time very wisely from here on out. Remember, if you have any questions, you can call us 457-9997, or you can send us a WhatsApp message if you don't feel like calling. So to head right back into our discussion quickly, what are some of the things that every home should have in case of an emergency?
Every home should have a fire extinguisher as a firefighter. Unfortunately, we don't have that in St. Vincent Grenadines. And I think I'm of the opinion that the insurance company should encourage all policy holders to acquire a fire extinguisher, to also acquire the training, and give them incentives, maybe reduce the policy a bit, because the person is well trained to handle a fire and they have the equipment that would help to control the fire until the fire department arrives on the scene. So it's going to protect your business and it's going to protect your policy holders' interests.
I would add in there that every home should have also first aid kits, even if it's one of those small $20-something ones you find at Carrez. And this is not a plug.
It is a plug, but go ahead.
Even if it just has in a couple Band-Aids and some alcohol swap pads, you should have a first aid kit. And of course, having an extinguisher and a first aid kit means very little if you don't have a plan. So you need a plan, emergency plan, what to do for your family in the event of any emergency, be it a fracture, a sprain, a fire, a flood, a hurricane. Get a plan. Sit down and discuss it with your family.
Nevertheless, I believe the sergeant and Miss Banner could have said what I wanted to say, but nevertheless,
I stole your talk.
Well, they should also have discussion in relation to safety, and also if there's an emergency, have a meeting point, because you must have a meeting point. Some people just say muster point, but because it's domestic, we go say meeting point. So just in case something strikes. So as said, first aid kit, extinguisher, these things are these are necessities. So you really need these things. Okay.
All right. My next question. All right. So let's get into some of the basic first aid that we can get into at this time that we were targeting the children. So some basic first aid that children can perform.
Well, children and bruises they go together very well. So children need to learn what to do if you get a cut, a scrape, a small cut, a scrape, a bruise on your skin. What do you do? Do you just let run soapy water over it, pat it dry with something clean? Additionally, children also need to know what to do in the event of heat-related illnesses. Quite frankly, climate change is a thing, whether or not we want to believe it. The place is getting hotter. You go outside anytime after 9, 10 o'clock, and you don't want to be outside between 10 and 3 every day. So children need to know that, for example, you go outside, you're playing, you start feeling hot, you start sweating profusely, you start feeling clammy and feeling dizzy-ish. What do you do in that event? Get out of the sun, hydrate, get some water in, get some cool air, that sort of thing. Keep out of the heat. I'm not saying children should not be outside playing. I'm saying they must be able to recognize the symptoms of any heat-related illness so they can nip it in the bud very early. And of course, we like the ABCs: airway, breathing, bleeding, circulation. So how to recognize when someone is choking. And we know when someone is choking, most persons, the universal symptom, they start to put their hand by their chest and pat. And some of the taps we tend to give people in the backs these days, you wonder if you're killing the person but children also need to know how to respond to a person who might be choking. And children tend to be among the age group that, quite frankly, tend to put things in the mouth and start to choke. So the Heimlich maneuver, teaching children how to perform the Heimlich maneuver to a friend, even yourself when nobody is there, that's also very important, and we think that children should learn that.
I remember when I first did pre-emergency medical wristband, but I wasn't getting the ABC at times. So I went home and I took one of my son and I started to practice just to get it so that when I go back class the next day, I'll be able to do like a first aid. So you don't have little jails.
And I guess from you doing it, practicing on him, he also learned.
Yes.
He would also learn how to do it himself.
And I get it right the next day.
Yeah. You tell your sometimes?
Yes. Children, in my opinion, should be taught to recognize should be taught to recognize hazards and how to deal with hazards. Also, if there is smoke, how to deal with smoke, leaving a room, evacuating a smoke-filled room. If there's a fire alarm, how to recognize the fire alarm, the sound of a fire alarm, and what to do if there is a fire alarm. And also, as my colleague said, Ms. Badnock, fire plan. You must be properly trained, educated on a fire plan.
I would jump in here with something else that I just remembered. In different communities, depending on how traditional they are, the sound of an emergency might be different. For example, yes, we hear the commotion. If there's a vehicle crash, you hear the boom and everybody hustling. But in some communities, they still blow conch shell. They still do the whole pulling of the church bell. I'm not sure if it's more on the Windward side or the Grenadines, but you still have those community early warning systems. So it's important to let not just your children, but persons in the neighborhood know how to recognize these early warning signs, what they are. And if you hear them, don't run outside and open the curtain and say, what are we going on? No, roll out, run.
All right, so I think the final question that we are going to try to get in is, what are the emergency numbers here in SVG? And speak directly to the children with regards to use of these numbers.
So, do you want to answer? Okay, we have 999, 911, and we also have 457 1211. What I want to say is that my advice is that those numbers are not for sports. Unless something serious is happening, don't make a mockery of those numbers. I know in the past we would have received call, especially when it's fire related. This building is on fire, this area is on fire. And when we do respond to the scene, there is no fire.
Oh, prank calls.
Yeah, prank calls. So this ain't no game. Because when you call a wolf and wolves do come, then you would be facing the music.
Okay.
However, if I must add, if children, there's an emergency and you call the emergency number and you don't get on, don't stop. Call again. Keep calling until someone answers. Someone will eventually answer.
Okay, so a child finds himself at home alone or with the other siblings, and they see somebody lurking outside. They're not expecting anybody. Mommy already instructed them not to open the door for anybody, but they see somebody lurking outside. Is it okay for a child to call 911 to say that they are feeling unsafe? Let's say they try to call their mother or don't have credit, because I think 999 would just go through without credit, right? Is it okay for a child to call in those instances where they are feeling unsafe?
First thing they should do is ensure that the doors are locked and windows are closed. Then call emergency and inform the operator of their concerns, what they see.
Okay, and what would you instruct parents to tell their children? We do certain things here in communities where children don't know their parents' proper names, right? They know the nickname or the community name that they have, right? So what are some of the practical things that parents should tell their children in the case that they need to place an emergency call to be able to give a proper description or full details to whoever it is that they're speaking with?
Like Miss I'm not saying name correct, right?
Renaming me today.
There's where an emergency plan, the importance of an emergency plan, in that it will educate their children. This is what we need to do. If you need to call the police, give a description. You give them a correct description, and I hope, children would know their parents' full name or correct name, maybe to
government name,
and also help teach the children how to give directions to get to the home. How many turns on the right, how many turns on the left. Important structures, maybe the church, after the Methodist church, or after the Anglican church, 4 turns on the right. So there's where an emergency plan is very important for any home in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I just want to add here, for the children to memorize their parents' numbers as well, because we're in the age where, and I gotta admit, I can't think of a number for somebody that I know out my head. I gotta go in my contacts in my phone, so
I also
teaching the children to memorize their parents' number instead of just saying, oh, well, I have it in my phone,
If it's one thing a child will not forget, is the mother and the father name.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I must say that.
But most kids
the preschools and the kindergartens, they have figured out that the children, when you ask them, "What's your name?" Some of them don't even know their own name.
Yeah, because
what's
they
your
just say,
name?
yeah,
I'm
play
baby.
name.
My son is in preschool, and he would say, "What is your daddy name?" Clifford Phillips.
Yes, but you might
because you taught him that.
Yes, so we have to continue to teach them.
Yes.
Teach them.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Also, okay, one of our duties to as firefighters is also to respond to emergency and non-emergency activity. So, if there is such a call, well, as much as the police as well too. So, if there is much a call, we would entertain it. We would respond to it because I don't know what really going on behind the scenes. So, unless you're playing a prank, right? So.
And we are actually also police officers. Firefighters are also police officers. We do have arresting powers.
Yes.
Powers of arrest.
This is why I jump in with the a plug for the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross. We do first aid training, first aid CPR, AED trainings. The fact remains you get your first aid CPR AED certificate with the Red Cross. It's valid anywhere you go in the world. Our number is 456-1888. I remember that number. And with regards to the booklet for the certs, the training booklet, now that there seem to be quite a bit of interest in the public sphere, we would make an attempt to have it uploaded to the website, the curriculum website, curriculum unit website as well. I would say, though, I must say that our pilot program, it has all been due to UNESCO. They have funded the pilot, and we have even managed to have UNICEF come on board to do the psychological first aid. So I must commend all of the stakeholders, all of our partners here, especially UNESCO for partnering with the Ministry of Education.
Also, I believe we would be heading to the islands of Union Island, right?
Yes, we're going to the Grenadines. We cannot forget the Grenadines. We have to build capacity down there as well.
All right. So just before we wrap up, with the question that I had posed before as well, I would encourage parents not just to tell your child you live in Barley, but if you live in Glebe Hill, Barley, if you live Bottle and Glass in Barley, tell your child the exact location of where they live. Also, it's important to let them know who they live next to. All right, because if you have to give directions, they sort of have to have an idea. The responders also have to have an idea of where it is that they're going. All right,
very important.
Along with the description of the color of the house. So these are little drills that parents have to have on a repeated basis, so that if they have to place, the child has to place a call, they can be able to articulate, so they can be able to just roll everything off as quick as possible, because in emergencies, every second would count. All right, so little practical things. All right.
Yep. And with that final word, we have come to the end of our interview this morning. We were interviewing Mr. Enze Priddle, with a sergeant.
Pretty. We spoke about the jumpy that came up.
Yes. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I saw that L. Enze Pretty, Sergeant of Police with the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force Fire Brigade. Mr. Clifford Phillips, Corporal of Police, also with the Fire Brigade. And Miss Kathy Badnock, Communications Director of the SVG Red Cross Society. Well, she wears many hats, but this is the one she was wearing this morning. And and our topic this morning was Prepared to Protect, Teaching Kids Emergency Response Skills at Home. We hope that you learned a lot. We hope that the children listened. We hope that they were there, they listened, and they learned. And with that, we say goodbye. We are heading into our bank rates.
99.9 WEFM.